Okay, so we're going to learn a little bit more about the brain today. Learning about the brain is what will help you to understand why this technique is so effective and why it works, and how it is that you can actually be more in charge or more in touch with your emotions. So it's not so much random, you're reacting to things, but it actually can be the reaction that you choose to have. So when it comes to how we create emotions, it's basically based on what we experience, what we learn. Okay. In many cases, certain things can actually literally be almost like this is just the way the Thomases are. And so then you kind of have some of those behaviors. But if you look up some information on epigenetics, it's fascinating. Epigenetics, it kind of goes with that concept. Now, what this technique does is it can undo any of that stuff, any of things that are kind of now in your gene work, so to speak. You're able to repattern that with this. So if you're into or know anything about epigenetics, you'll find that very fascinating. So when you're younger and you're growing up, how you feel about things, how you see things, how you process things, it's all based on what is around you, your environment, your parents, the area you live, your culture. All of those affect how it is as you're growing up, how you're responding. Now, that does not have to be the way it always stays. Many people think, well, this is the way I've been all my life. But because they've never been taught that they can change that if they want to, they don't even consider it because this is the way they have been all their life. You don't have to be that way if you don't want to. If there's something that you're like, I wish I could change it, but it's always been that way, you actually can. So most people think it's hopeless. And so, you just learn to adapt to whatever they're doing, but you actually can. This technique is one of the ones that can really do it. Now, I'm sure there are other techniques out there that are effective too. So whatever technique that you may have found, continue using it. But I encourage people to incorporate this in because it really will boost whatever technique that you like when it comes to changing how you view and see things. So if you normally take weeks, months, and years to make shifts, you might want to try this technique because it can be done in minutes and in just a couple of days. It does not have to be a long, tedious process. Each time a person makes the process long and tedious for them, their brain will see doing any kind of mental work or changing of emotions or changing of thought patterns, mindsets as the same thing. And it will continue to, you'll be able to do it, but it'll always be in the same long, tedious way. So if you want something fast and quick and you train your brain to adjust quickly to things, then this is the technique that you would want to learn to do. So your brain is doing for you every day this technique. This is what it does. But when it doesn't do it, you can manually do it. This is what's great. So this is not new. This is not something your brain doesn't know how to do. It does know how to do it. It does it automatically whenever you're happy. And whenever you're happy and there are things that are going on that are not in your control, but you're still happy, the brain is doing this. What happens is the brain stops doing it when we have assigned a limit, a too much, crossing the line. When we assign that to things, then the brain will not do it for us. It'll let us go ahead and have the resentment and have the anger and have the fear and have the anxiety because we have assigned and it knows I can do this, this, this. I can tolerate this, this, this until. So every time someone tells me, well, I'm really patient, I'm only not patient when that is what you want to address. We don't need to address the part where you're all patient and this and that. It's the until. So everything is the until. Oh, I love myself, except, okay, the except. I just love him to death, except for when that is what you're going to work on. The except, the but, the until. That is what is causing the same, maybe things going on in your life that you don't want. Okay, so when you address something, what does that mean? It actually means that you're not allowing whatever the circumstances to affect you in a manner in which you're not able to maintain your inner peace in a way that you normally do, or that it affects your ability to see the big picture of things and to get lost in the moment and feeling dismal or distraught or overwhelmed. Okay. Now, is that normal to have those things? Yes, because that is the way we normally have done things. But it doesn't have to be our normal anymore if you don't want. If you don't want that as a normal, you can actually change it. And so with the technique, that's what you do. You're going to do three things will happen. One, you're going to realize half of the things that were driving you crazy, your brain just like, okay, it doesn't bother me anymore. So it's mute. The other thing is you'll maybe start catching yourself and realize, hey, I don't really want to be upset about this. This is something I would like to let go of, or this is something I wouldn't want it to be an issue. I don't want to care whether I'm a size 2 or a size 4 or a size 6. Well, if that's the case, then you can go in and change it. Now, certain things are beyond your control. Like maybe you have brown eyes and you hate brown eyes. Well, if you're always going to hate brown eyes, then you're always going to hate that. So you might want to go in and say, well, why is it that I hate brown eyes? Why is it so strong? And then change that so that you can accept what is happening. And then some things, they're just happening. And instead of them being the worst thing happening to you, your brain says, hey, I got this. So that is the benefit of this technique. If you want to stop the overwhelming, the up until this point, this can happen in my life and this can happen until this. If you want to stop that, if you don't want to have a bar, okay, if you don't want to have a bar that you can be reached, a button that can be triggered, then you're going to want to learn how to do this technique. And the more you practice it, it's going to start becoming a habit. Your brain is designed, the part of it that we're dealing with is designed to help you out in the best way possible. So when you train it to help you in the correct way, it makes life start to get effortless. You quit having things that are causing you to pause and say, I can't believe this is happening. Oh, why is this happening to me? Oh, life is so hard. You'll stop saying those kind of things because your brain will not see those challenges as an issue. It'll just see something that it's going to handle. And that's why I really love this technique, because for me, when I learned that I could really feel some of the things that I have been taught all my life about not being anxious over anything, it became real. It became not just words on a page, and it became not just temporary and then the next day it's back. It's something that I really found that, wow, I can have some crazy things going on and my brain isn't freaking out. It's actually handling things. It makes me think of, there's a little GIF, I'm going to try to put it in there, with Shaq. And he is just knocking things out of the park. And that's kind of how I see things when they come at me. If you see it, he's smiling and just knocking things out of the park. And I'm like, yeah, no matter what comes into my life, I'm just, keep going. And I'm not a fake smile. Many have learned to do fake smile and go through things. And then they don't realize that's why they're feeling a certain way, because inside there's still that conflict. So on the outside, they're trying to show themselves happy. But as soon as they're off Zoom, or as soon as they're alone, as soon as they're out of their meeting, as soon as they're off their work, then all of the feelings that they really are feeling start to come up. So they got to keep themselves preoccupied. So you're going to really love helping your brain so that it can keep you happy. A lot of people want to do outside things to keep them happy. Go on a trip, watch something funny, get a massage, have their favorite dessert, have a morning ritual that they love. Those are all just fine. But if those are taken away, how then do you feel? If you get your inner side feeling that way before you even have any of that stuff, it can't be taken away. Your inner peace cannot be taken away by the challenges that are coming along. Despite the challenges, your inner self will remain in control of how you feel. So that instead of falling apart, your brain says, hey, not a problem.